All right, so probably one of the more memorable knockouts was the Chandler against Ferguson, and I think it was all just because of the buildup. So that was a fight where I think 3 weeks prior to that, I think I was at a PFL fight for a week, and then I was supposed to go back home, but then I got sent to work a fight in Vegas, and then that fight got postponed a week, so I ended up going to Anaheim, California. That's at that fight, and then after that, I was like, oh, I'll just drive back to Phoenix. It'll be a cool trip. My friends were actually hiking the Grand Canyon, so I was like, oh, I'll meet you. So I ended up showing up, hiked the Grand Canyon with them. That took like 8 hours. It was one of the toughest things I've ever done. I did it in one day, and it was funny because I think we stopped when I was in California. We went to the Ruka store, and Pat gave me a water bottle. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had nothing. So I had this like Ruka water bottle. I just filled full of water and brought up and down the Grand Canyon. So we get to Phoenix to fight Chandler and Ferguson's in Phoenix, and I've seen Ferguson. He's been in a lot of wars, and it's just like a tough dude, and he's a game dude. And I knew it was going to be a tough fight. So fight week with Chandler is always exciting. He brings it. Intensity is always up. He always shows up 100%. I know he's going to show up 100% fight night, and he does. So we go out there, we're warming up, doing this, doing that, getting everything ready. In the corner, you always walk out to the cage and then you sit down, and it happens so fast. You get called out, you're standing on the outside of the cage. I always like looking around and seeing the crowd, just kind of taking it all in. I know this is a big fight, and every time Mike fights, it's always going to be entertaining, sometimes too entertaining for the corner, but it's always enjoyable to be there and be in his corner. And I'm sitting down, we get down, we sit down in our chairs, sit down, and all of a sudden the fight, you look up and it's going. It's like him and Ferguson, and who's going to land first, because they're both aggressive. And I think Chandler might have got hit and did a somersault, gets back up, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then he throws that front kick and catches him. And he throws it at me sometimes. We're training, he throws it on pads, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing throwing that? And he throws it and it lands, and this guy just goes out and crumbles on his face. And the crowd goes nuts, my corner goes nuts, but for some reason I was just, the emotions of the week kind of all hit me. Some fights, throughout the week, some guys won, some guys lost, and I've been traveling for 3 weeks straight. And I was just like, man, there's one dude just at the most excited you can be. And there's another guy laying it out on his face, and I'm like, I remember I kind of turned my back, and I'm looking in the crowd, and everybody's going nuts. Everybody's cheering and screaming. And I look over at Heidi, who was the timekeeper. I think that's what she did. I can't remember. She was always sitting next to us in the corner, and I looked at her, and I'm like, is he still unconscious? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, excited, but also concerned for this guy who's knocked unconscious, and you think of the worst thing that could possibly be. Maybe this guy's never going to wake up again. And it's always that it's always in the back of your head, when you go out there with fighters, that this could happen to your guy, or you could do this to another guy. And even when I fought, and when you train people, this is still a very dangerous sport. And it's a fight. And things can go bad one way or the another way, or they can be great, but this guy's laid out in his face. And then I look up at the cage, and I see Mike on top of the cage, and he's looking over at his kid, or he's looking at somebody, and he's emotional, and he's crying. I'm trying to keep it together, and he's excited. And then he gets off the cage, and then they're like, hey, why don't you guys come in the cage? I'm like, I don't know, I kind of just want to sit here and just kind of disappear. And I just kind of it was just a lot. And then we get in the cage, and he's getting an interview, and of course the UFC camera pans in on me and Henry. Henry walks over to me and says something, and I just start I kind of lost it. I started crying. I was like, geez, it was the whole, I said, all the buildup from the fight and from the weeks ahead, and just all the emotions kind of I was excited, and just a lot of emotions hit me all at once. I was like, man, of course there's going to be a camera, and Henry gave me a hug, and I kind of pulled it together, and Mike did his interview, and Tony woke up, and then I went back to the hotel room, and I was supposed to leave the next day to go to London for Logan Storley's fight against Michael Venom Page, and I realized I didn't have my passport. So I kind of started panicking, started calling airlines, and ended up going back to Miami, went to my house in Delray, got my passport, got back on a flight, made it to England in time, and then Logan won. So it was a good week. But yeah, this is an emotional job, man. It's just never-ending roller coaster, man. The highs are high and the lows are lows, man. It's just, I don't think I'd want to do anything else.